Let's go back now to Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, you're like this. Do you remember some weeks ago you and I discussed the scourge of woke TV Christmas commercials? Well, we did the Boots advert, didn't we, which depicts Father Christmas, a man, we all hate men, don't we, as a lazy so-and-so lying in his sleigh snoring in front of the fire while a bunch of women and trans women got the presents today and did all the work. Another woke, politically correct Christmas advert. Well, you'll like this one. This is the advert, the Google Beauty advert for this Christmas. Enjoy.
So dry.
This winter dryness is not it, especially when I have so many holiday looks to pull off.
Thankfully, I know just the thing. And it's in stock nearby. Hydrated skin is a gift to everyone. No wrapping needed. Happy holidays to me.
Do you know what I think would make that commercial, that advert, more effective? You know, because it's like all these beauty products and moisturisers.
Yeah, maybe having a woman.
A woman, because they are the ones who mostly use beauty products, aren't they? You know, well, why have they got a bloke there doing it?
I mean, there's a booming market in men's beauty products for which you could use a male model. And for women's beauty products, let's use women. I mean, that isn't a woman. I'm sorry, it just isn't. Clearly, the advert's trying to be provocative. But, I mean, honestly, it's getting a bit boring now, isn't it? These companies that are just trying to shock or provoke a debate or provoke a backlash from people like you and me just to try to get a bit of attention. It's just getting dull. It's not original. You know, I'm not shocked. I'm just sort of tired of it, really.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying. I've got complete contempt for it, and it's not just that they're trying to provoke a response. They've sort of steered themselves into a mindset where I think they're genuinely terrified. Well, if we just put a woman in to advertise beauty products, we'll be accused of being transphobic or something like that. You know, they're terrified of their own shadows. You know, it's beauty products. Use a woman. Unbelievable, unbelievable. Not quite on the same lines, but an interesting debate to do with trans issues. The Spectator magazine, upmarket, right of centre magazine here in Britain, is going to be made to apologise for calling an author called Juno Dawson a man who claims to be a woman. Now, Juno Dawson complained to the press regulator, Ipso, about this and said that this was a deliberate term to upset and insult him, her, I don't know, probably I'll get in trouble for saying him, whatever. But what Juno Dawson said was that that he's got a gender recognition certificate, therefore, he should be referred to as she. Upholding the complaint, Ipso, the press regulator, talked of the, I'm quoting here, the columnist's view that the complainant remained biologically male. It's not a view, it's a fact. This is Alice in the Wonderland stuff, isn't it? I mean, what is going on? So Michael Gove, famous politician, of course, now the editor of The Spectator, he responded, he's going to have to publish this, saying, sorry, we called this man a woman, because that was so horrifically wrong or something. So he said, I'm in no doubt this is an outrageous decision and it is offensive to the principle of free speech and chilling in its effect on free expression. Now, what I would say about people like Juno Dawson, Gareth Roberts, by the way, is the writer. I don't know whether he went out to make her feel bad or him feel bad with this statement, but I would say that Gareth Roberts, if I want to be offensive to Juno Dawson, and start calling him a bloke in a dress and all that kind of thing, in a free country with free speech and freedom of expression, I should be allowed to do so, shouldn't I? And I certainly should not be forced to state a lie, a scientific lie. You know, the Ipso said, well, it's the columnist's view that this person remains biologically male. That isn't a view. That is a fact. It's very worrying, isn't it? This kind of verdict on a scientific fact, and the magazine has to apologise. I do think it's an attack on freedom of speech.
So you say that the magazine has to apologise, but I wonder whether the Spectator, you know, under its new editor, who's very articulate and has obviously come up with a strong and punchy response, I wonder whether the magazine couldn't have gone a bit further and said, actually, you know what, we're not going to abide by this ruling on a point of absolute principle. Don't forget that membership of Ipso was not compulsory for newspapers and magazines. The vast majority of them did sign up to it. Some didn't, including The Guardian. I was just reminding myself why The Guardian didn't sign up to it, thinking that they maybe didn't sign up to it. I was sort of hoping because they knew it was going to be a ridiculous organisation, but they actually wanted something that would go further than they thought Ipso would.
They did, yeah.
Guardian, so obviously they don't think in the way that we do. But I wonder, you know, what would the consequences be? I don't know the answer to this question, but what would the consequences for the Spectator be if they had just said, actually, you know what, you know, sod this, we're not actually going to publish an apology about it. Here's why, and we're going to devote the front page of our magazine to taking a stand on this. Because yes, Michael Gove, the editor, can say, well, it has a chilling effect on free speech, but so does complying with nonsense like this. It suggests that, you know, that there is nowhere else to go with it. I mean, the answer may be that in some way there's a legal obligation, but I'm not quite sure how strong that law would be. I mean, would Michael Gove go to prison? I think he would be a great martyr to the cause if he did.
Yeah, that would be a story, wouldn't it? I know that I think probably The Guardian, as they say in football, is considering its future. And Fraser Nelson, the former editor, did consider leaving Ipso for these kind of reasons.
Well, there you go.
And it'll be interesting to see what they do in the future. But as I say, look, I wouldn't want to upset Juno Dawson or anyone else. But I believe that whether or not you've got a gender recognition certificate, whether or not you've had the surgery, if I want to call a trans woman, I wouldn't personally do it. I don't want to upset them. But if I want to call a trans woman a bloke in a dress, a man in a dress, I should be allowed to. Being offensive, misgendering, cannot be against the law or against the publishing laws.
Oh, we've got to stop creating laws for everything. I mean, there's many other very offensive things. I get called all sorts on any given day, you know, really offensive stuff. You know, is it going to be an offence to say that I'm thick? I get that an awful lot. Well, you know, I'm not thick. It doesn't really hurt me because I know I'm not. But, you know, some people might find that very offensive, continually being called stupid, continually being called this, that or the other. I won't list all the insults that get thrown my way. There's probably a law actually that would deal with some of that, but you know, you don't just go crying to the law for every little insult or offence or hurt feeling. You know, there must be more grown-up ways to deal with it, and I'm sure that this Juno is feeling very pleased with themselves. But I don't see why they have the right to impose their view of gender in the world on the rest of us. You know, there shouldn't be one view that everybody has to subscribe to. That's not what any kind of civilized society is about, is it?
Yeah, I mean, misgendering, we've got to look at the wonderful world of misgendering. So when we have old Isla Bryson, do you remember the guy in the tracksuit with his meat and two veg hanging out and wearing a blonde wig who was on trial for double raping two women, and who that idiot Nicola Sturgeon actually sent to a women's jail before even Scotland saw sense and hoiked him into a bloke's jail. That trial, all the papers newspapers, and throughout that trial, barristers, judges, referring to this idiot wearing a blonde wig and a tight pair of trousers where you could see his manhood as she got, you know, she raped her victim with her penis. This has got to stop. This is insanity. This is absolutely mad. And misgendering, if I want to misgender someone, surely I should be allowed to. Cannot be against the law, can it? Also, if I fancy offending someone, I don't like to offend people. You know me, I'm a shy and retiring soul, but I don't like to offend people. But if I want to, why can't I? Here's the Ipso ruling on Gareth Roberts was that his words were, I'm going to quote now, personally belittling and demeaning towards Juno Dawson in a way that was both pejorative and prejudicial of the complainant due to her gender identity, and was not justified by the columnist's right to express his views on the broader issues of a person's sex and gender identity, given that this was targeting her as an individual. What? What?
Well, what I would say that people on the sharp end of this, people who feel hurt that they've been misgendered, need to man up, frankly, or woman up, whichever one they choose to be. You know, you can't go through life just endlessly being upset because, you know, some member of the public calls you by the gender that you were, to use the phraseology that's used these days, assigned at birth. It's not unreasonable for the general public to attribute someone the gender they were assigned at birth on the basis of what they see in front of them. And this is going to happen, and you've got bigger problems, frankly, if you've been through all of this. And it's not an easy thing to change your gender legally. It must be pretty traumatic. I think this is the least of your worries, that some Spectator writer calls you originally a man. I mean, really, is that your biggest problem to deal with?
Yeah, and as I say, the nature of the apology will fly in the face of scientific fact. I mean, in essence, what Gareth Roberts is saying is that, you know, Juno Dawson remains a male. And that's true. Juno Dawson is a biological male. And by extension, you can call a biological male a man, can't you? I think it's, I mean, you know, we'll probably get in trouble for this, but it seems to me to be scientifically accurate to call Juno Dawson, and by the way, this is up for argument, this is a discussion. It seems to me to be scientifically accurate to call Juno Dawson a man who claims to be a woman. That's not wrong, is it, necessarily?
Well, I personally don't think it's at all wrong, but evidently there are fine minds and fine brains and more sensitive souls than you and I, Kev, who really do think it's wrong. And the question is whether we are all forced to go along with the more sensitive souls and restrict what we say and how we express ourselves. And I feel quite strongly about this in a way, but in another way, I just can't even believe we're having this conversation.
Well, this is the whole point. This is insane. This is insane.
There are so many things to worry about. You know, the country's absolutely gone to pot, and we're sitting here, you know, with one of the best magazines in the world having to waste its column inches arguing about whether it should or shouldn't have said this and delivering apologies. For goodness sake, you know, honestly, this is why, you know, one of many reasons why we're not making progress as a country, because we're tying ourselves in knots over this stuff.
Yeah, yes, indeed. And to sort of, you know, back my point up, Ipso, Juno Dawson also complained that calling him, a man, was inaccurate. Ipso did not uphold the complaint of inaccuracy because it can't. And yet it still censures Gareth Roberts and the Spectator magazine for its accurate statement. I mean, it's just crazy.
It's not inaccurate then, which means all it is basically insensitive. That's what it boils down to. Yeah. Well, you know, we all need to be a hell of a lot more robust because there's a great deal bigger challenges than being called the wrong gender. If someone wants to call me a man or whatever, you know, whatever. I know what I am. It's most important that you yourself know what you are, never mind what someone else labels you.
Absolutely. Isabel, thank you so much for a brilliant week. We'll talk again next week. Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's international editor there.